Going over to the Cultural Part podcast, you have Matt Walsh telling Hasan to get out of my country, you leech, quote unquote. This is a little bit long, but I think it's worth watching. It's Matt Walsh, specifically hashtag Matt Walsh blog over on X. And he simply says, Dear, let me pull up his first name, Mehdi Hasan, who describes himself as a British-American journalist, editor-in-chief and CEO of a new media company, Zeteo News, with 1.8 million subscribers. He says, God, my country, you leech. Here's a Matt Walsh in the cliche flannel, which, I mean, this is like beyond full masculine. This is, this is a cliche log cabin. I mean, given that he's worked at many media companies for many years, he's probably accumulated wealth. Maybe he does have a log cabin near the office. It's kind of sad how some of these instances are just staged. It's not actually their place. Got some authenticity at the topping show. This is actually my office, my daily office, where I accumulate old defunct businesses and put the signs up there. And again, if anyone knows of a Circuit City sign anywhere, I do pay finder's fees. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm very much interested. It's been 15 years. I've never found a Circuit City sign, but I will someday. Nevertheless, it's Matt Walsh here.
So let's take, for example, Mehdi Hasan, the former MSNBC host. Now, Hasan doesn't have an actual audience. His show is typically pulling in fewer than 40,000 viewers in the key demographic, which is much, much less than I would get if I let the inanimate fish in the background host the show. Okay, if we just had the fish cam, if the only thing we had on the show was the fish cam, we would clear 40,000 views easily. There it is. So,
I mean, and I think that's actually made up fish or just a wooden fish. It's not real taxidermy. They're less.
In lieu of attracting an audience, Mehdi Hasan has attempted to spend his time attacking Americans and Christians on behalf of socialists like Zohran Mamdani. And to that end, here's Mehdi Hasan's latest argument. Listen to this.
I think that if you can play church bells, you can pray the call to prayer. We are as American as anyone else, and don't take any BS from anyone.
You're as American as anyone else? Really, Mehdi? Really, Mr. Hasan, you're as American as anyone? You're a Muslim who was born in the UK, came to this country less than 10 years ago in your mid-30s to work for Al Jazeera. Okay, is there anyone who seriously thinks that Mehdi Hasan is American at all, much less as American as anyone else?
Another funny thing with Al Jazeera, Al Gore, his whole life was against fossil fuels and oil. He sold out his media company for like, what was it? A couple billion? To oil company, or oil derivative wealth holders.
It's even harder to buy the idea that Mehdi Hasan is an American if you actually listen to the things that he says, which no one does. So let's review. Before he got his MSNBC contract, Hasan started out as a propagandist for Iran who told his followers that non-Muslims were, quote, animals. Watch.
In Islam, the ends do not justify the means. This idea is totally alien to Islam. In Islam, what is halal is halal, what is haram is haram. We do not bend our law, our morality, for our short-term aims. Never. And we never lose the moral high ground. If we know anything as Shias of Muhammad, as Shias of Ali, as Shias of Hassan, as Shias of Hussein, we know that keeping the moral high ground is key. Once we lose the moral high ground, we are no different from the rest of the non-Muslims, from the rest of those human beings who live their lives as animals, bending any rule to fulfill any desire. Once we do that, we are lost.
Whoa.
All of these ulama unanimously agree that at the very minimum, if Yazid was not a kafir, then at the very minimum, he was a fasiq, a transgressor, a breaker of Islamic laws, a corrupt individual, a tyrant, a killer, a drunkard, a dog lover, a music lover, a homosexual, a pedophile, a sexual deviant, someone who slept with his own mother, astaghfirullah. These are their views of these ulama in their books, not my view.
You know, this is just how Americans talk, according to Hasan. He's just as American as anyone else. This is as American as apple pie. This is what down-home, average, blue-collar Americans say. Yeah, you hear it at any 4th of July barbecue.
You hear that all the time at the assembly plant.
People comparing Christians to cattle, calling us animals, ranting about music lovers in the same breath as pedophiles and people who sleep with their own mothers. Now, all morally equivalent to the average American. Nothing more American than that. Apparently, it's also as American as apple pie to berate white people, who, are the vast majority of Americans, including the people who founded this country. There was not anybody with the last name Hasan at the Constitutional Convention, okay? There were no Hassans dying on the battlefield in the Revolutionary War. Not a single one. There were only the kinds of people that Hasan despises, even as he tries to co-opt the country that they created. Hasan, of course, has made millions of dollars in this country disparaging white men and women. Most recently, after the 2024 election, here's what he tweeted. Good job, white men and women, blaming them for Kamala Harris's defeat. So he comes to a country founded by white people that's mostly made up still of white people, and then he attacks them, invoking their skin color in the process for not voting the way he wanted them to vote. He just got to this country 5 seconds ago, and he's already saying, well, this should have gone the way I wanted.
I mean, there's a sounding American. Sounds Democrat.
Who the hell are you, Mehdi? Who are you? Who cares what you want? Imagine if I went to Uganda or Nigeria and tried something like this. Imagine if I ran for office, lost, and then wrote on social media, nice going, black people. You really got some internalized black supremacy going on, don't you? I'm just as Nigerian as anybody else. Now, in that scenario, how long would I last before they stoned me to death?
I mean, I can't help but think Matt Walsh has done some extraordinarily interesting and hilarious documentaries or mockumentaries. I'm not saying he should do this, but there's a kernel of idea that he has right there. Just saying.
10 seconds, 20. In fact, what if I went to Hasan's actual home country, India, and ran for office, lost, and then said, great.
Do it. Just for the LOL. Just for the lulz. Come on, the Daily Wire's got money. Fly over there and do that.
Job, brown people. Yeah, you brown people. Really screwed up again. I'm just as Indian as any of you are. Yeah, I just got off the plane last Tuesday. I'm just as Indian as any of you. What if I did that? How long would Mehdi Hasan spend crying about that? Would he ever stop crying is the question.
No.
Of course, Hasan also used to appear on television every other day, warning of the supposedly grave threat posed by white supremacy. He also celebrated a plane crash in Georgia, saying, make American planes crash again. This is the person we're supposed to believe is as American as any Christian who can trace his lineage in this country going back.
Again, he sounds like a leftist.
Back to the Revolutionary War, just as American as any American who doesn't hate white people, who actually wants our civilization, our system of government to succeed. This is the person who we're supposed to take seriously when he compares church bells to the Muslim call to prayer, which happens many times a day, starting around 5 a.m. and sounds like this.
For a second, I thought it was a really shitty trumpet player. Now, if you're not watching on the Rumble or the YouTube, you might miss some of the visual things there. I mean, look there, it's interesting. All of the signs. I'll mute this for a second here while I look at the footage. Looks like all the signs are written in Arabic. I mean, my eyesight's not the best, but I can tell those aren't, English characters of the alphabet. Oh, the neighborhood's gone to hell. I see a Kia there. Oh, shit. It's done for. Oh, dear God. Is that a Nissan? I'm only partially kidding.
So this is the lie that they want you to believe, including even some conservatives will tell you this. They'll tell you that what you just heard there is just as American as a church bell. Just as the Muslim call to prayer at 5:30 in the morning, wafting through the air, just as American as, a good old American small town with the church bell going off at noon.
Let's be honest. I think, depending on where your congregation is, I would say ballpark, the average times for, Catholic or Christian Mass, and maybe you have a 7 a.m. or 8 a.m., then you have an 11, then a 12, ballpark those times, but yeah, nothing at 5:30. And again, well, those churches have church bells. It's just music. It's like there's no church that I know of in the United States, no Catholic churches bombastically screaming the rosary over the loudspeakers, or in terms of the streets. They're not saying they're not saying the Hail Mary over the intercoms to everyone who's walking into the Walmart. I think, and again, I'm Catholic. I think that'd be annoying as hell. But again, a couple church bells, those brass bells sound amazing. But back to Matt.
That's what we're supposed.
Which, not to critique his cool log cabin appearing looking background, which again is probably just a studio at the Daily Wire office. Also, no gun in the background. I actually feel ashamed as a Texan. I need to add one. I know I got one. I got the 50 caliber. Well, not that impressive as a flintlock pistol. But yeah, he has a canoe that's too small to sit in. So it's a decorative canoe you probably get from Pier 1 Imports before they went bankrupt, with some books on it. Got some oars, the fish that's carved out of wood, fireplace, wood paneling on one side, and the stone fireplace. He does have a cross. There we go. He's beat me there. Where's the AR-15? Where's the musket? Actually, not to brag too much, I have a 50 cal musket and a flintlock pistol. That's a brag. But nevertheless, back to Matt Walsh.
To believe. And we all know that it's not true. We all know that it's not true. And the thing is, even if the call to prayer wasn't so obnoxious and so obviously disruptive to the lives of everybody living nearby, in this case it's in Dearborn, still doesn't matter. And even if church bells also rang at 5 a.m., which they don't, it also would not matter, because there's still a very good reason to say that in this country, church bells are acceptable in every city, while the Muslim call to prayer is not. And that reason is this, okay? Christianity built this country. Islam did not at all, in even the slightest way. Islam has nothing to do with America. If Islam had ceased to exist 300 years ago, this country would not have lost a single thing. There is not a single good thing about our country that we would not have if not for Islam. And if you doubt that, then go ahead and give me an example of the great gift that Islam has given to this country since its founding. Give me the example of the thing that if Islam had ceased to exist 300 years ago, we would not have in America. Go ahead. I dare you.
Nike branded burqas. They're very popular in some areas. And other things, probably.
Mehdi Hasan, I dare you. Go ahead, name one thing. Go ahead. You can't. And that's why we can have our church bells, Mehdi. We earn them. This is our country. It is not yours, Mr. Hasan. Any actual American would understand that concept very well. If you want to hear the Arabic call to prayer 5 times a day in every neighborhood, you can go to one of the other 50 countries in the world that are into that. And by the way,
that's 51 or 53. It's quite a few.
If you want to hear church bells instead, most of those countries would not be nearly as accommodating. Now, when I made this point on X, Mehdi Hasan responded with this. He said, quote, 1 in 3 of the slaves who built this country were Muslims. They were here long before the Walsh family arrived. You know that if you studied history, but I know MAGA has an issue with studying. Oh, and I'm guessing you don't count slaves as people or Americans. So, and by the way, he followed that up with another tweet claiming, again, that Muslims are more responsible for building America than the Irish. So, as you can easily have predicted, Hasan responded with just layer upon layer of lies, just absolute delusion, heaped on top of delusion. So for one thing, this country, just to be clear, was not built by slaves. It wasn't. Much less the handful of Muslim slaves owned by the 2% of Americans who ever had slaves to begin with. The
1.6%.
Industrial.
And then in terms of building the country, a lot of people point to GDP. I think it was 6.3% was alcohol. I was about to say alcohol. Can't enunciate. That's why I gotta click the subscribe button, helped by speaking ineptitudes. Well, agriculture, so I was tempted to say.
Revolution is what made this country wealthy. And it was spurred by the invention of technologies like the steam engine, the coke blast furnace, not the cotton trade or the slave trade. In fact, cotton exports accounted for roughly 5% of the overall GDP of the United States prior to the Civil War. 5%. So these people that say slavery built the country, 5% of the GDP built the country. Give me a break. There's a reason we became a much, much richer country once we abolished slavery. Not only did slavery not build the country, it actually held the country back, if anything. And again, if the handful of Muslims picking cotton...
Also nearly tore our country apart. There's a thing called the Civil War, where hundreds of thousands of people died.
Cotton in the fields had never been here, it would have had no impact on the country at all. Okay? The vast majority of infrastructure and industry in this country was built by the labor of free men. Okay, this country was built by free men. Every Muslim country on the planet, on the other hand, had slavery for exponentially longer. They relied on it exponentially more than the United States ever did.
Also, there's more slavery now than ever before in history. And spoiler, it's not here. Not in Canada either. Mostly the Middle East.
Which is why Western countries had to shut down the Arab slave trade by force. Look up the Africa Squadron sometime. We had a whole unit of the U.S. Navy from 1844 to 1843 to 1861 devoted to suppressing the slave trade along the coast of West Africa. The Arabs clung to slavery like a fat kid holding a donut. They refused to let it go. It was such an integral part of their culture, and still is in some Arab countries. And by the way, the slave trade in Africa was extremely wide-ranging and global in nature. This is one of those stories that isn't taught in school, but it's absolutely true. In the 17th century, Barbary pirates from North Africa raided several towns in Iceland. Yes, Iceland. And they went into Ireland also. Okay, thousands of people were captured, transported to North Africa, and sold into slavery in places like Algiers. Many of the slaves died. Actually, by some estimates, more than 1 million European Christians were enslaved by Barbary pirates and slave drivers from the 16th century to the 18th century. Here's why I bring that up. Number one, okay, if you're a Muslim, you got no room to be lecturing about slavery. None. Number two, Mehdi Hasan, let me ask you this. Given that we had 1 million white European Christians who were enslaved in the Muslim world for 200 to 300 years, would you say that white Christian slaves built North Africa? Can we say that white Christians built the Middle East? Why not? Answer that, Mehdi. I want you to answer that. Did the 1 million white slaves build the Arab world? If a few Muslims in the cotton fields built America, what can we say about the 1 million whites enslaved by Muslims in their countries? What do you think, Mehdi? What do you think? Now, this is a rhetorical question. Of course, Mehdi Hasan is a British Muslim who came here less than 10 years ago, so I don't expect him to know anything about my country. And he doesn't. He is as vapid and clueless as his non-existent audience would suggest. He has neither the integrity to tell the truth nor the intelligence to lie convincingly. He has come to this country to live off of the fruits of the labor done by people he despises. He's as ungrateful as he is useless. He's exactly the kind of immigrant that we should not allow into this country, a spiteful, lying, self-entitled brat with nothing to offer the country but demands and accusations. He's a bad person, although not a bad American, because he's not an American at all.
And then went viral to say the least. Matt Walsh got 1.1 million views and 35,000 likes. And some extra history there for you. The first comments comes to us thanks to Wall Street Bets, who simply says 100% to gain 264 likes. We have David Santa Clara with a Photoshop picture of Hulk Hogan standing in front of some deportees, some illegals. And I guess I should try the Hulk Hogan accent. It'll be, well, the odds are it won't be great, but nevertheless, I will make the attempt. Okay, brother. okay, brother. They're going back, brother. The Hulkamania is coming now. Which, I mean, probably the worst Hulk Hogan impression you heard all year, but nevertheless, the attempt was made. And David Santa Clara got 615 likes. Raymond G. I think that's Raymond G. Stanley Jr. Yeah. TMPS RL simply says, every word Matt speaks is truth, getting 24 likes. Jacob says, amen, Matt, a freaking man. Deport Mehdi Hasan, getting 32 likes. Yeah, 32 likes. Amelia Henderson says, quote, Hasan is an example. And as a meme, it says, a radical Muslim wants to kill you. A moderate Muslim wants a radical Muslim to kill you, getting 40 likes. We do have a contrarian statement bringing to the surface, getting 207 likes from Trump Tracker, says, quote, man, have you tried crying about it? I heard that might help. Then again, 207 likes was the ratio, though. No! Brandon says the only thing you can do is cry, getting 13 likes. Someone says, STFU, getting 4 likes. Sam has a picture of a cartoon girl, says, I have a homophobic slur to say, getting 5 likes. Some of the people are saying, have you tried crying? No. Daniel Hall has a meme where it's a bunch of Muslims saying we want Sharia law, and Trump says they go home, getting 617 likes. Jacob says, or he has a screenshot of a definition of Islamophobe. It says, a non-Muslim who knows more than they're supposed to about Islam, getting 466 likes. What's this? The real Velma Johnson says, maybe just tone down the Just for Men down a shade, Matt. All of your hair isn't supposed to match exactly. And they have AI generated Matt to be overweight with all white hair, which I don't know what they mean in terms of the hair matching exactly. They got 4 likes. Stephen Mackey has someone responding to Hasan saying make American plane crashes again, saying Hasan deleted this tweet because it exposes him as an extremist. It'd be a shame if it went viral, getting 343 likes. 344 likes. Golan Israel says yes. There's a bunch of knights around a table. One is labeled MAGA, one is pro-Israel right, anti-Zionist right, center right, classic liberals. And in the middle of the table where the swords are all pointed says denaturalize and deport Hasan, getting 416 likes. Peace has the, I forget what movie this is. Is it Joker 1 or 2? It's Robert De Niro with the interview scene. Says, do you really believe that Islam is a danger to every civilization? The Joker says, I do, and I'm tired of pretending that it's not, getting 282 likes. Honeybee says, first they come for your bells. This is a famous meme that's been going around for months. It is a compilation meme where it's actually, no, it's not a meme, it's a roadmap. It says 3 phases of Muslim immigration. Phase 1, few in number, oppressed Islam, play the victim, claim Islamophobic, more tolerant of others. Phase 2, large minority, indignant to Islam, threatening, demand Sharia law, intolerant to infidels. Phase 3, clear majority, dominate Islam, militant, strict Sharia law, kill subdue infidels. Says for 1400 years, this pattern has not changed. Moderates are irrelevant, getting 241 likes. America simply says denaturalize and deport Hasan, Zoran Mandami, Hassan Piker, Ilhan Omar, getting 72 likes. I'm not trying to butcher all these names purposely. Kennier Marine says America is not a nation built by immigrants. America was built by settlers. There's a difference. Settlers ventured out into wilderness to build civilization from scratch. The modern immigrants come to a place that's already been built. Settlers planted trees. The modern immigrant comes to eat its fruits. If you cannot see the difference, I don't know how else to explain it. Getting 236 likes. Someone by the profile name of F the Lamestream Media says Hasan. There's a Indian-looking guy. Oh, it's a parody of The Shining, but it's an Indian guy hacking the way through the door. Says, "Let me tell you about your country." Getting 195 likes. Israel Exposed says, "Warning! It looks like a AI-generated picture of looks like the wax seal from like a whiskey bottle." But it says the influencer is a foreign agent supported by Israel, getting 326 likes. Going down more and more. Howling simply says that fish is pretty cool, getting 129 likes, which it's not even real. It's like, I guess it's a carved wooden fish. Someone by the name of Pice has a picture of a woman in a burqa saying, "You're going to hell." The girl in the bikini says, "You're already there," getting 124 likes. Let's see. A lot of people have the same graph talking about the phases of Muslim immigration, getting a couple hundred likes apiece. Let's see. Yeah. Trying to see if there's any more contrarian statements bringing to the surface. Not so much. And again, it's not out of the realm of possibility we'll see Sharia law. Now, again, you could argue the Supreme Court's going to shut it down, or they'll vote it down. Whoever does come up, there'll be lawsuits. But again, Supreme Court's changed throughout history. Maybe it's only a matter of time. Leave your thoughts, because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you click that button. I really appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comments. Great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how to make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.